area. Dear Dennis, stand-up comedians, like politicians, have to repeat the same line over and over. I never was prone to that. Oh, I see. I thought you meant a redundancy in the setup. I know Chris Rock's career really started to take off, in addition to the insights like in every city in America there's a Martin Luther King Boulevard named after a man of peace, and if you happen to be on Martin Luther King Boulevard anywhere after 9 p.m. at night, you're dead. So, in addition to that, I also noticed he changed his meter to a redundant setup, and he would walk back and forth, and you could hear him say, Martin Luther King Boulevard. Boom, like the carnival game where, you know, the target's Martin Luther King Boulevard. Boom, the hook, then the delivery. So I thought you meant repeat it, but you mean just saying the same lines. Yeah, but you know what? It probably takes a good 2 months of saying it to rub the edges off a line. It's like I remember John Malkovich came on one night on Saturday Night Live and did a show with the Sweeney sisters, or those two goofballs, Nora and Jan. They had some show, and he was a driftwood artist, and his only tool was his thumb, and he would rub the driftwood and rub all the hard edges off it and get it smooth, you know, that stuff that lays on top of the table. That's sort of like comedy. You take the joke up and it's a little clunky, and then you just talk it, and it probably takes around 2 months, but you get it down to the minimalist language that shows the joke. There's a tipping point where you show the joke, but it's not a pronounced showing. You know, you want to be Henry Higgins with Liza Doolittle, but you don't want to still be the rain in Spain. You have to smooth it out a little. So that, you know, the first 2 months you don't feel like you're beating it into the ground, and then if you come up with a good joke, I can tell you it's hard enough to do. I have jokes I wrote 15 years ago that I'll still do if I feel like it. If I'm really in a bind, I know a couple of, you know, it's like One by Three Dog Night. They've got their, Skinner's got Freebird. I got a couple that if I'm really in a bind and I know I got to fight my way out of an alley, I can do it with a couple jokes, and I will pull them out. You have to repeat the same line over and over to different audiences for months on end, but make it sound fresh and new every single time. Overrated. Very easy to do. You think about other jobs you could have and you do it. You know, when you show up at work that night, you go, my job is so tough that I have to make this sound new. And then you think, all right, there's that, and then there's being a flagman on a road crew. All right, I'll make it sound new. But when do you know that it's time to retire a great line? When it doesn't get a laugh. You know, that's the great thing about comedy. You don't have to do a lot of interpretive mind meld. When you hear the laugh, you know that it still works, you know? I'm trying to think of a joke. Ken, like, naturally I'm freezing, but there are some jokes that I still do after ages, and I invariably, if I quit doing it, somebody will say, I told my friend you were going to tell the, you know, you can't do many of them. Obviously, if you're doing an hour on stage, 58 minutes of it should be new at any point. Nothing wrong with bringing up your Freebird, though. People dig it. There's more to this question. When do you know it's time to retire? Love the podcast option, by the way. It's the only way I can get to hear the show up north here in Toronto. All right, well, thank you, Johnny, up in Toronto. Oh, you never go to that CN Tower in Toronto, Eric. It's the tallest thing in the Western Hemisphere.
I've been to Toronto, didn't go to the top.
Oh, you got to go to the top, because here's the money quote, or the money thing they have up there. You know, there's a floor like this, carpeted or rubber matted, and you know, it's a big round place up there, but they have one part of the floor that's a glass block, and you can step out onto it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm telling you, it's hard. It's funny, the physics of it. It's hard to put your foot down on it. You feel like you're, well, go do it next time, because you can stand on it and be standing on nothing, like looking straight down, and it's hard to bring yourself to do it. You know that it's as solid as the other thing. And I think they have that out at the Grand Canyon now. I'd like to try that. They have that big semicircle that you can walk around over the Grand Canyon, and somebody told me out there they have glass things that you can stand over and look straight down. It's really interesting. It's like when you're a kid and you used to have to mop on a wet floor or walk on a wet floor. Did you ever do that thing where you walk lightly? I wonder if the physics of that, I'd like to see somebody do their doctoral thesis in physics. If you walk lightly on a wet floor, does it in fact leave less of a dent, or what does the physics of it dictate? Your weight is your weight, I guess, and no matter how lightly you try to. I'd be intrigued to see, though, because it feels like you're being a little lighter on the floor, but probably not. Phil from Burbank. Enjoy these samples of the Bathrobe Sessions, a weekly video available only to members of the DMZ, the Dennis Miller Zone, on DennisMillerRadio.com.